was like walking through an endless church made of towering trees. Beth thought back to the arching naves of an Italian cathedral she'd visited as a child. This place has the same feeling to it, a looking up at something that seemed to extend beyond the sky. They kept silent, as if it would have broken something sacred to speak. Pine needles underneath their feet creating a thick carpet, absorbing the sound of each single step. Even the birds were silent, the air still, as if they'd entered a holy place. Everything listening, waiting for winged words to fall and sink to the depths of the forest. Awed, they walked hand in hand, feeling small, children again. They climbed the base of an enormous tree lying like a fallen giant on the forest floor and found an altar of roots snaking up in supplication through the sky. Between the roots was a crevice with just enough room for two. She looked down, amazed. There, where the roots had pulled out of the earth, was an emerald lake of still water. Sun glinted down on its surface from an opening in the forest sky that the tree had once filled, and into a place of absolute peace. They stayed until the sun began sinking below the crown of the trees, and left with a silence within so thick it remained unbroken. And this is the next day. Damien's been trying to get at her for like a year now. Something happens. They drove down the coast, stopping at small towns along the way, walking on beaches and running from waves. When Damien suggested watching the sunset from the cliffs, well, it seemed like the natural way to round out a beautiful day. They found a place close to the edge, yet sheltered from the wind, drank wine straight from the bottle, and laughed at gulls fighting over a piece of bread. The world became a band of gold as the sun burned into the sea, leaving the air seamed with color. They looked at each other. Skin grazed, lips met, and the heat of it seared them both to the bone. Sparked, bound, electrified. In the brew of the storm, lightning shot jagged, left scars in the sky, but they didn't see them. The sea crashed, shook. The cliff hammered. The sea crashed, shook. The cliff and hammered against stone, rock tumbling into the surge, but they didn't hear it. A tree was hit and split in two, but nothing could touch them. Pulled down into something deep, they cried out, oblivious to the havoc nature wrecked. And in the eye of the storm, they made love until that eye closed, lashed by day, and only stopped when the wind died down and the sea fell into a catatonic state of stillness.
Thanks, Angelia. Now, Teresa Ray. Teresa, yes.
The series is called Ted and Sylvia Fish. Invincible. Convinced they were invincible, they lived on the edge, sharp. They sliced, hacked, flayed, they diced, cubed, stabbed, life, to death, till they parted. Fresh fish for SP. From pike to trout, freshwater fish pooled in him. You moved close to catch them with your mouth. You swam their dreaming paths into morning, listened to their breaths. They were songs he was singing, and then his fingers opened your eyes. You were hungry. You wanted fish for breakfast. Pike for TH. Long body, a streamline, green and black camouflage. He moves slowly through the reeds, through the weeds. Solitary, he spends his life hunting. He lies in wait to prey, with perfect words, with matching wit. But she was not prey. She was not weak. She bit back. Trout. Earthworms, angleworms, grasshoppers, slugs, minnows and spinners, even grubs. Sylvia, unafraid of live bait, always fond of the chase, rises readily to the surface where his spoken words, hooks, wait. When the mayfly is in season, she dances herself out of the water, utters a kind of ecstatic dry squeak to fill the air on her gills. As she feasts on flies unaware, he fishes for her still. But once caught, she fights with a dash, with a daring beauty. Terrible fish. This opens with a quote. Now I am a lake. A woman bends over me, searching my reaches for what she really is. From Mirror by Sylvia Plath. No old woman after all staring back at you. Instead, a Moorish idol, rare, rapacious, ringed. A terrible fish who was beautiful but difficult when kept in captivity. Her eyes were emeralds, her waters dark, salted, warm. Ted stayed, swam around her table as Sylvia left to attend to a baby's cry. By morning, a giant pike sat at the table, its globed golden eye throbbing in the not cruel, only truthful mirror. She was not astonished, Ted. She was not envious. She was hearing her own voice. Melting Sylvia Plath. No coincidence. Melt and meld sound similar. My energy personifies your touch. I lay my moving body next to yours and come home. I finish words for you, Ted Hughes. Our time seemed endless as we fished with untethered fears to find truth. Melted, melded, I'm gone rogue in your damned heart. Thank you very much.
But the name of my novel is While the Sands Whisper, and the excerpt I'll be reading is taken from a story, a chapter about a young girl named Jamila, who's having a love affair with a Bedouin man who's not from her same tribe. Okay. Jamila's world. At sunrise, I watched Fadia's little grandchild taking food and firewood to her great-grandmother's tent. The same child walks her blind great-grandmother by hand to the hidden place around the dunes to relieve herself. Jamila and I take a walk after breakfast through the valleys with her flock. And as usual, her little brother Latif tags along. He walks barefoot and continuously babbles to himself. His agile feet avoid the razor-sharp rocks as he collects pebbles and stones, dropping them into the expanding pockets of his frayed shorts. We laugh at Latif as he chases the goats, carrying on with his constant chatter, as if talking to an imaginary friend. Jamila and I stand alone in the valley. Her goats have long disappeared, but she doesn't seem to care. Jamila is a girl who lives in her own world. She stops for a moment, reaches down into the button bodice of her long cotton dress, and pulls out 2 crumpled Egyptian banknotes. Unraveling the first note, but it has been folded and unfolded so many times that the handwriting can barely be deciphered. 2 intertwined hearts with the names Rahmani and Jamila in Arabic, along with his telephone number. The second note is almost identical, but with an alternative telephone number to Rahmani. Jamila asks me with pleading eyes, "Aisha, can I try to call him from your cell phone?" "Yes, of course." I keep a cell phone with me for critical situations only. But as Jamila tries the first number, the rhythm of her breathing changes. Becoming still and anxious, she holds the phone close to her ear. As communication in the desert is so limited, she lifts the phone above her head and shouts up into the receiver, "Hello, hello, is Rahmani there?" She waits for a long time and finally receives a message from his cousin. "No, Rahmani is not there right now." Jamila bites her lip for a second, her voice stifled with disappointment. "All right then, I'll call back later." This has been a brave move for a 16-year-old Bedouin girl to contact her secret lover. If anyone were to hear about this phone call, the word would spread like wildfire, and her father Saeed would stop her from leaving the family premises for months. Rahmani is from another tribe. He is a Tarabini Bedouin, and Jamila is a Muzaina. The couple has known each other for almost a year now, and whenever she speaks of him, an extra dimension of tension comes into her voice. As long as she is unmarried, Jamila's life is committed to serving her family, and she is allowed to go nowhere except to shepherd her goats and sheep. Her secret has to be kept between us. Jamila unravels the second note with a second telephone number to Rahmani, looking at me as if to say, "Can I try again?" I hand the phone over to her and she walks toward the hill for privacy. In the meantime, I get up to look for Latif, who has disappeared along with the flocks. After a few minutes, Jamila is running towards me. Holding her fingers to her lips, she exclaims, "Yes, I spoke with him and we are going to meet tomorrow." Then she cups her hands over her eyes in disbelief. Sometimes Rahmani's passing by can mean a 5-minute view from afar, where Jamila will perhaps have only a moment's chance to gaze at him by peeking through a small hole of the family tent. Her father Saeed never allows her to go to the road. Her father's word is the law, and she would never dare to challenge his authority. The old man is still unaware of her secret love affair, so she is still allowed to walk the flocks. giving the lovers a way to meet at the foothill of the valley, where there is a narrow stream of water for Jamila's sheep. Especially by having her little brother tag along, her secret would normally be in jeopardy. But Latif lives in his own world also. Some of the young Bedouin girls walk several hours from their villages to this valley just to meet a potential partner or secret lover. The nomads sit high and proud on their camels like peacocks showing off their feathers, their camels harnessed with spectacular hand-woven saddles. From the cliffs above, they gleam over the girls in manly confidence. This is the secret place where it all starts, the only place considered to be safe territory. If a couple wants to meet behind closed doors, they can possibly steal a few minutes together, hiding in back of the immense rock formations. Afraid of causing rumors among friends, they don't dare to do more. But this is the law of nature, and according to the saying, by the way of the heart, the man walks. But as for the future of Rahmani and Jamila, only time and customs will tell. Today is a bit more liberal than yesterday, and the times of arranged marriages are slowly fading. Thank you.
Good. Well, it's nice to see you. Once there was a great knight, a handsome man. Now, you can imagine him any way you like, but I like to imagine him tall, dark curly hair, deep brown eyes, thick lashes, a strong jaw, a man that was honorable, a man who kept his word. He was loyal, but he was kind, and he was discreet. One day, this particular knight was out with his king, because a man like that is hard to find, and even another man knows that. So he became very much the companion of the king, and they went out hunting. And rumor had it that there was a beautiful stag deep in the forest. So the king decided to capture this stag, the ones that the peasants said every time he met another one that the antlers were this big. No, sir, they're this big. No, sir, they're this wide. Well, he could only imagine if he had captured this stag, killed it, the beautiful antlers that would be in the hall of the king. So off they went galloping, and they found themselves very deep in the forest. And suddenly there in the clearing was this stag, just as these peasants had told them. And the knight, of course, being not only honorable but diplomatic, knew that the king should have the first chance at it. So he pulled his horse back, and the king took out his bows and arrows and took down the stag. But no sooner did that happen that the heavens grew dark, and suddenly a towering figure came down and said, "Who dare come here and take my stag?" Well, the king was the king, and he says, "I am the king, and the land is..." And the voice said, "Shut up." And the king had never been told to shut up ever in his life. And he was, "This," the voice told him, "is my land. And that was my stag. And for that you must pay with your life." My life? The king said, "Wait a minute." "Well," the voice said, "I'll challenge you. There's actually no game in taking men's life from me anymore. I've taken so many men's lives, the skulls are just kind of collecting in my closet. There's another game I'd rather play with you." "Okay. I will pose a question. Is that your man there?" "Yes, that's my man." "I'll pose a question to your man, and if he can answer it, I'll spare your life." Well, of course, the knight said, "Don't you worry, my lord. I can take care of this. And so with that, he said to the voice, just, that shadowy figure, give me the question. And the figure said, now, before I give you the question, I'm going to let you know you have one full moon cycle to get the answer. But if you come back with the wrong answer, off with the head of the king. Of course I'll have the right answer. Don't you worry, my lord. I'll be back in no time. What is the question? Dear knight, tell me, what does every woman want? Excuse me? Can you repeat that again? But it was too late. The figure disappeared. His lord, the king, had disappeared. What does every woman want? Sure, he says, that's got to be easy to answer. He turned his horse around. Of course, he naturally went back to the palace. And he gathered the women and he said, listen, this is an emergency. The king is being held hostage. He'll lose his life if I don't come back with the right answer. What does every woman want? Oh, they said, well, I think jewelry. Yes, darling, wasn't that gold? Yes, gold. No, diamonds. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. No, pearls are much better. They're so much warmer when you wear them. And then he began to think, these are women in the palace. They're a bit jaded. This might not be the right answer. His gut was telling him, not the right answer. Go out, talk to the more ordinary women, the peasant women. So he went out. But you remember, this guy's a bachelor, so women don't always quite give him the right thing. So he shows up at the villages and he says, what does every woman want? You? Yes, okay. He just felt that wasn't really the right answer. Felt good, but it wasn't really the right answer. But then he went out, he asked widows, and he asked married women, and newly married women, and virgins, and he asked the nuns, and he got different answers. Women wanted wonderful clothes. No, they wanted children. No, they wanted only boy children. No, boy children are a nuisance. Get only girls. No, only girls are good. They wanted a rich husband. No, they wanted a faithful husband. No, they wanted a husband who could give it to him every night in bed. They wanted all kinds of things. And as time went on, he just felt he wasn't getting the right answer. So finally, as the cycle is going, we're getting to the half moon, and pretty soon it's the 3/4 moon, and he still feels, I do not have the right answer. And if I do not return with the right answer, off with his king's head. So finally, he said, what am I going to do? And he thought about it for a long time. And then he remembered hearing about the wise woman in the woods. One of these stories always have that. So he turned his horse off to the little hut. She said, I've heard about your quest. What took you so long to come, fool? You've been riding around for a long time, and now you finally decide to come and ask me? I have the answer for you. Oh, good, he said. Great, well, give it to me and off I'll go. It's not that easy. Okay, what do you want me to do? Build you a better house? You want my horse? Horse? What can I do for you, madam? Nicer clothes. She was dressed in rags, Her hair was all glinty, and she didn't smell very good either. A bath, maybe? I could arrange that. No. You are a bachelor. You are unattached, aren't you, sir? Yes, he said. Or maybe she's got a pretty daughter, a niece or something. Yes. If I give you the answer, you must promise on your word that I will become your wife. Excuse me? He was a little hard of hearing. Remember, he had the other question. He didn't quite get that right. She said, you heard me the first time. If I give you the answer and the king is released, you must marry me. Give me your word. Okay. All right, yeah, sure, I'll marry you. So she whispered the answer in his ear. And he just knew this is the right answer. On the horse, time was short. He didn't have a watch, but And boom, 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 back into the forest, down into the clearing where they originally seen the stag. Boom, the voice showed up, the big thing. So, Knight, do you have the answer? Yes, I do. And he says, oh, well, you did get the right answer. And with that, he disappeared. The king reappeared. And the king said, whew, that was a close one, dude. What took you so long? Well, hey, you know. And back they went to the palace. But of course, the knight all of a sudden remembered he had that little promise he had to fulfill. And he told the king, you know, to save your life, I promised that hag in the woods I would marry her. She gave me the right answer, and you know, and the king was like, can we get you out of this one? Can we get you out of this one? No, we can't get you out of this one. Looks like we're going to have a wedding. So, a big wedding was planned. The bride was gotten by the other knights and brought to the palace. But I have to say, it was one of the saddest weddings that ever occurred. The women wept. Oh my God, he could have been. Is that what he wanted for a wife? Oh God, they wept. And the men were just like, oh boy, this is not good. It was sad. It was a very sad ceremony. People got really drunk. They passed out. A couple people barked. But you know, you've been to weddings. You know how this goes. So finally, you know, reluctantly, the priest went up. He blessed the bread. Yeah, good luck. I don't know how you go. But anyway, and they were left in the wedding chambers. And there he was with his wife. Husband, will you not come to bed and join me? Well, I think I have to brush my teeth 100 times like my mother told me. And then something about my hair, and then he did a lot of grooming, but eventually he could find nothing else to make excuses for. So he had to crawl in bed next to his wife. Husband, will you not kiss me? He thinks. But just as he was about to reach over and kiss her, she put her hand up. And she said, you know something? And he says, no, what? Under all of this, I'm actually a beautiful woman. Yeah, right. I wish. But actually, with just the blink of that, she did turn into a beautiful woman. An absolutely drop-dead gorgeous woman. And he's like, well. She says, but we have a little problem. He says, what's that? You look good. What's the problem? She says, you'll have to make a choice. I can look good at night for you, but in the day I'll be that ugly old hag that everybody else will see. Or I can be beautiful in the day, but when we come and retreat to the bed chamber, I'll turn back into that ugly old hag. He thought about that for a moment. What would his peers think if they saw this beautiful woman he was married to, and every day he could parade her around? But what would it be like to have to lay next to her every night? But at the same time, to have a beautiful woman to retire to the bedroom to. And then he thought about the answer he had given to save the king's life. And with that, he leaned back and he pulled up the cover and he said, honey, whatever you decide, I'm sure it'll be the right thing. And of course, with that, she was beautiful both night and day.